Hey everyone. So today we have an exciting guest. This is the first female founder we have on the show, and I'm very, very excited about that. Her name is Anuradha, and she is the founder of a company called Multibhashi that is doing phenomenal things, and I can't wait to hear about it, and I can't wait for her to share her story with you. So Anuradha, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for agreeing to and thank you for agreeing to share your story. So let's get right into it, and let's start from the beginning. You know, where you from, your upbringing, and everything like that.
All right. So I come from a place called Jaipur in Rajasthan. Not a very modern city. I come from a very traditional family. Never thought that I'd ever be working. So from the kind of family that I come from, girls are just supposed to take care of home and kids, and guys are just supposed to take care of their family business. So my parents were not very excited about my education, although they were very supportive of whatever I wanted to do in life, right? And it's not that we were very poor. We could afford education and everything was fine. So I was a bright student, and specifically for me, what really worked well was that my English communication skills were good. In a place like Jaipur, where not many people can speak English fluently, especially when I was a kid, the fact that I could speak fluently was seen as a plus, and that also reflected in my marks. When I used to write my exam papers, I was more communicative, so I scored better. So because I was doing well and I was enjoying what I was doing, my parents never stopped me from studying further, although the best education that any female in my family would get would be higher secondary, at best graduation, right? But I went ahead, I did my engineering in computers, I did MBA in finance, I also did CFA. So while my parents were never against my education, at the same time, they did not think that anything would come out of it. The only positive they saw out of it was probably she'll get a better husband because she's so educated, right? So I was never allowed to work. I got selected for 5 jobs, but I had to say no to each one of them. One of the jobs my father allowed me because I was really persistent. I wanted to go and work for that place. It was 3 hours away from my city. I used to travel 3 hours to and fro every day. But then I had to finally give up because, it was just not possible. Once I got married to Devendra is an IIT Bombay alumnus, the whole world changed for me because coming from a traditional family, this guy was hugely supportive of women building out their career to the point of pushing me to do something with, my life, to do whatever I enjoyed, pursue a good career. So I joined a couple of companies once I got married. I worked with Copal Partners. It was a startup-ish company. I worked with Agilent Technologies, which was an MNC. And having worked at both the companies, I could clearly see that I was more inclined to work at a smaller setup like Copal Partners, where there's a lot of energy and you have to work really hard, and you are instantly gratified. Like whatever you do, you can see the results to it. Unlike an MNC where you're just a cog in the wheel. So after having worked with those 2 companies, my husband decided to take an entrepreneurial plunge, and I accompanied him, and we both co-founded a boutique investment bank, which is known by the name of Dexter Capital Advisors. So at Dexter, my role primarily used to be connecting with interesting founders, the way you're connecting with me, finding out what they're doing, listening to their story, judging what space and what stage they are in, and accordingly connecting them to the right investors. So at Dexter, we enabled, in the past 5 years, we started it back in 2013. We've enabled 25 plus transactions, ranging from seed round, angel rounds, pre-series A, series A to series B. In 2015, when my second child was born, I took a break because the pregnancy was complicated, and I moved to my hometown for a couple of months, right? When I moved back to my hometown for such a long period, I realized, the whole perception around how people saw me now in my immediate family and friends was completely changed, because they thought, that this girl is someone special who actually built out a career, and so for them, in short, I was a successful woman in some sense. And some of them approached me saying that, we would also like to lift up our confidence, and whatever advice you can give us in terms of how we can do better. And the common thing that was coming out in all the conversations was that they felt less confident because they were not fluent in English. So English for them was kind of an aspiration. And so I directed them to the existing solutions. There were quite a few products in the market, apps, websites, online they could go and learn for free, but they didn't really like any of them. And the common feedback was that using these solutions, I cannot go out and speak English in my relevant context. So I tried to understand from them, what is that relevant context? Like, when do you want to speak English? And they told me that they have scenarios like when they're stepping out for shopping and they want to talk to the shop assistant in malls, in fancy restaurants. That's where they want to speak English. While these existing products were teaching them grammar, teaching them hi-fi vocabulary, but there was no context to it. So I started helping them with short paper, notes, where I used to write down a dialogue between two people, between a customer and a shop assistant, and they used to read it, they used to practice it, then they used to come back and role play with me. Gradually, and all the context came from these people, like, what are your areas where you feel less confident speaking in English? Gradually, I started developing them even more. I converted those text dialogues into voiceovers. I used to record when I used to put my children to sleep, I used to tiptoe out of the room, and then I used to record my voice in voiceovers. And it used to start in Hindi. So it was all bilingual. I was doing it Hindi to English. And it used to start something like, "Aaj hum sikhenge restaurant mein English mein kaise baat ki jaye," right? So those voiceovers then gave way to animated videos. I just got so immersed into it that I found out a free tool and did a drag and drop animation for all of these videos. And before I knew, I ended up doing close to 100 animations.
Wow.
Just so that I could organize it well, and so that these people could share it better, I started posting them to a Facebook page. And just for fun, I called it Multibhashi. Because multi means many, and bhasha in India means languages. So the purpose of that channel, Facebook page, was to enable people to speak multiple languages. English was the first language that we were targeting. The Facebook page took really off. Like, people were coming from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, saying that this is Hindi content. Can we have the same content in Bangla? Can we have the same content in Tamil? So I hired an intern online, a Bengali intern online, and I got that content, a portion of that content converted to Bengali to English instead of just Hindi to English. Again, started posting, did really well. And this is how, a lot of people used to come on chats on that page and ask me questions. I deployed a small chatbot on that Facebook page, which used to play quizzes with you. It was all doing really well. It was growing on its own. And that's when I decided that probably I need to take it up as a good business opportunity, and took an entrepreneurial plunge. Mid 2016 is when I started putting together an app. December 2016.
I'm gonna cut you off right now, because that's a phenomenal. I have so many questions. That's like a phenomenal. That's a phenomenal path, like how you got to entrepreneurship. So the first thing I want to know is, how did you know English as a kid?
So I learned English as a kid in school. Nobody in my family spoke English. But at school also, it was a class of 65 students, and everybody was being taught English. I was the only one who used to absorb English like a sponge.
Right.
I used to be fascinated, and not just English. I was a topper in Sanskrit. I was a topper in Hindi. So it was not just about English, it was about languages and the way they influenced me. When I moved to Bangalore 2 years back, the first thing I did was I learned Kannada, how to read and write in Kannada. And within a week, I was able to learn the script, which is pretty different from Hindi.
How many languages do you know?
Not many, actually. I haven't given time to it. I learned French on my own. I completed DELF A1 and A2 just for fun. My job or anything never required it. Mm-hmm. Sanskrit, Hindi, English, I'm completely fluent. Kannada, I can read and write. I can understand Kannada. I wouldn't say that I can speak Kannada fluently yet. Also, besides that, Bengali, I would say I'm lower intermediate, and Punjabi, I'm a lower intermediate.
So we're talking about 6 languages.
We're talking about 8 languages.
8 languages, isn't it? Okay. I would have called that a little bit, It's a.
Yes.
But the funniest thing is that most people go to school, like most people do learn English in school, but they don't absorb it. And they don't they don't take it in and everything like that. And the fact that you took it in and you absorbed it, you obviously see, like, later on, now in retrospect, you can see the benefits for you doing that so much that right now you actually built a company out of it. So that's phenomenal. I also think what's amazing is that your whole path towards it, like, it wasn't like you went ahead and, like, you started a company. Like, there's a phenomenal right. It's a phenomenal company that's very similar, like in America. It's called Khan Academy, right? I think he's also an Indian, right? He's the same exact way. Like, he originally, his nephew needed help in math, and he posted his videos to YouTube, which eventually came into this whole entire company that he has now, which is helping millions and millions of people. You're the same exact way. Your friends, the people in your village, your town wanted to know.
I wouldn't compare myself to Khan Academy yet. But yeah, the common thread remains that most of the times you don't choose entrepreneurship. It's like entrepreneurship chooses you.
Right.
And like I said, I was already working at Dex, and I was really happy working with my husband. It was, again, our own child. It was also our own company. But Multibhashi just happened to me.
Right. So before we get into, like, how do you how do you take care of being a mom, a wife, an entrepreneur? So you started Multibhashi. So we definitely know where the idea came from now. What were the early challenges that presented itself when you were first forming the company? So we're holding now that the idea actually proved itself. People needed it. You're going into different languages now. What were the first challenges that came up in the beginning? Once now you're hiring your first developer to develop an app.
That's right. So when I decided to take Multibhashi full time, Dexter was already a responsibility. We had 2 kids, both of them very young. So my daughter was close to 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. My son was just 6 months, right? 6 months, a year, something like that. So we had very young kids. We had a very young startup that we were already building. And to top it all, my husband decided to float another startup. So he co-founded another startup with a co-founder, InstaOffice, which is a chain of co-working spaces. And I decided to start Multibhashi. So practically, we had 5 kids now. So we had our hands, to say that we had our hands full would be an understatement. So this was the first challenge that we were juggling with a lot of things together. The biggest challenge in starting up on my own was the fact that I was not a techie myself. I was not a hands-on techie. And what I was foraying into was out-and-out tech project, right? So to be able to build that kind of a team, bring people together, and make them as passionate about the cause that you want to pursue as you are, was the biggest challenge. So I would say that putting together a phenomenal team, especially in the early days, I think is the biggest challenge for any entrepreneur, not just me. Because like my husband says, an entrepreneur is a constant salesman. You have to pitch your idea to your team members. And these are your first people that you actually have to sell something. Then you have to pitch your idea to investors, to customers, and this goes on and on and on. Ifram, I'll have to take this call. Can I just put this on mute for a while?
Sure.
I'm really sorry. Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
So go ahead.
Right. Mm-hmm. So these were a few challenges, like putting together a team, and then also to be able to check the technical robustness of my product, because I'm not a techie myself. So I have to depend on other people, and then you have to learn to trust your team members, which again comes gradually. So these were, and then finding your first few customers, convincing them that this is a good product, which was lesser of a challenge in our case because the market is already ripe. Like a lot of people are aware and they know that English is their gate pass to success, to a better future. So that was less of a challenge. I would say putting together a team and then, working as a team and really reaching those goals were the first few challenges that I faced.
Wow. So how did you go about building a team? How many team members do you have now?
So now we are a team of 15 people. Okay. Initially, when I started off, we were just a team of 3 people. Me and 2 techies is all it took. So I was taking care of all the content. Of course, I took help of interns, a lot of interns, to build my content in various languages. The first version that we released was just in 2 languages, Hindi and Bengali. Now we cater to 10 plus languages, 10 plus Indian languages. So, wow. Yes. So besides these 15 people, we have an intern base of close to 60 people, who help us from all over the country with various languages.
That's amazing. And I know and I got a chance to check out the app actually. It's phenomenal, definitely phenomenal. Very interactive, and I definitely see a lot of exciting things. So you guys recently just celebrated 1 million downloads.
That's right.
That's absolutely amazing. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do well? What did you do right?
When we started off, even reaching that first goal of 1,000 downloads was right. We used to celebrate every small milestone. Now we have 1,000, now we have 5,000, now we have 10,000. But since then, coming to 1 million, it's still it feels unreal, to be honest, because you can never imagine on that first day that you'll reach that kind of scale. And the kind of love we've received from the users so far, a lot of people have told us that, so we also teach Indian languages through English. We don't just teach English through Indian languages. It is the other way around. And a lot of people have said that, I have moved to Bangalore. I moved to Bangalore 10 years ago and I still couldn't speak a word of Kannada. Thanks to Multibhashi, now I can, basically interact with people, the locals. So even for English, we've got responses like, my life has changed. We've trained people who've got jobs after learning English through us. So all those kinds of user success stories, I think, give us that kick to continue, to be able to move forward. And that keeps us going.
That's amazing. Just to see how passionate you are about it. Like example, I want to know you have 21,000 plus reviews on Google Play Store, and each one is responded to. Who has time to respond to each one? Do you do that?
Yeah, I did that till we were 5 lakh installs. So the time we were 500,000 installs, I used to do it personally. So, since morning till night, even if a Play Store review is coming in, I'll immediately respond to it. This used to be my holy grail. And I used to personally talk to at least 10 people every single day who are downloading the app. And I used to look at segments like, 2 people from the ones who've uninstalled the app, 2 people from the section where people have booked a session, 2 people who've just recently installed it today, like 1 hour back. I want to talk to them and I want to see what are their expectations, what are their reactions. So honestly, Ephraim, whatever we've built so far has always been very, very close to what people are telling us. We listen to our users really closely. Like I said, the choice of language, the choice of going from Hindi to Bengali came from the users. The choice of adding more and more quizzes, adding topics, the context came from the users. So we've always been guided by users, and that has only been possible because we ourselves are very closely listening to them. Now my team member Faizan does that, and he does a phenomenal job of replying to each and every Play Store review every single day. And he doesn't just reply to these users, he also makes sure that if they're facing a difficulty, they are directed to the relevant team member and their issues are solved in real time. So yes, user focus is definitely the heart of whatever we do.
So you guys are you live the motto of putting your customers first. You guys have that. Your clients definitely see them first. And the way Multibhashi, I guess, is your path is followed after your clients. So your clients are directing you guys, which is amazing because you're always going to have a fit together with your customers because they tell you what you guys need and that's how you guys go build out. That's phenomenal. And what I think when I got a chance to go over the different, I guess, language platforms in India and different places, and the difference in Multibhashi, I think, is one of the main differences is the fact that not just the fact that you guys are just so passionate about it. You're solving a real problem. You took almost all the languages. I mean, there's so many more. I mean, how many languages are there in India?
22 official languages.
22 official languages. That's like, which other countries do you have 22 official languages?
But you know what I'll tell you? In India, the number of languages that are spoken across the country is 150 plus. So 22 is just the number of official languages being spoken. There are 150 plus languages, which is basically dialects or versions of these different languages.
Wow. And so you guys are solving a real issue, but the fact that a person from a small little town that knows some languages and could come and literally, just not just learn English and to get a better job and have a better career and a better life, but also any other type of language within India that'll help them out a lot. That's just amazing. So what do you see, what do you have in store for Multibhashi going forward?
So see, we're adding a lot of exciting features to Multibhashi. Earlier, this used to be just a self-learning app where you could go and take a few quizzes, you can watch a few videos, you can listen to a few audios. Now you also have an option of going to Multibhashi app and booking a session with a real trainer and getting on. For example, you and me are chatting on video call, right? I might as well learn some English from you, or you might as well learn some Hindi from me. So this kind of connect is
I'm always open to learning Hindi, yeah.
Oh, I'll connect you to one of my trainers, don't worry. So this kind of connect is possible now through the app. You can learn from expert trainers. Right now, it is a payable, it's a chargeable model where you have to pay a small price for getting in touch with a real life trainer. Going forward, we want to make this a community of learners learning languages from each other, because for us, the good part is we have both kinds of people on our platform. There are people who are trying to learn English from Hindi. There are people who are trying to learn Hindi from English. If these people are willing to help each other, they don't have to pay anything. They can just collaborate and learn from each other. Right. So this is the kind of community that we are looking forward to.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's go back into this. How do you go about, from my understanding, all your 15 employees are all remote. Are you guys in the same office? So from my understanding, all your employees are remote employees.
Not all, but I would say 70% of our workforce is remote.
Okay.
Just 30% works from office.
Okay. So how do you go about building a positive culture full of collaboration for people to collaborate when they're not seeing each other on a daily basis, and 70% are, at all?
Yeah. So I would give a big credit to WhatsApp for that. So we have our own internal group. We are extremely connected as a team. And, so WhatsApp has really helped us, because this is something that everyone has and everyone checks it 20 times a day, not just once or twice a day. And we've set some processes for the team to be able to update each other on their progress, take feedback from each other on whatever new initiatives we have, and also help each other out. So for example, if we have a chat window, right, where anybody can come and start chatting with us and ask their queries. So if a Tamil team member is manning the chat and somebody comes in and starts talking in Telugu, she can instantly put in the WhatsApp group and check, hey, I need help from a Telugu team member, and she comes online, right? So in that sense, WhatsApp has been a very, very big collaboration tool for us. We tried Slack, didn't work out because most of our team members do not check Slack that often. And then I would say that what helps us stay bonded as a team is the common set of values that we follow. So whoever joins is educated about what is the value system at Multibhashi. For example, we like to share credit, and we like to take blame ourselves. If something is going wrong, I will try to say that, I will try to apologize, and I'll try to introspect what did I do wrong. But if something's going good, I will try to see, how did I achieve this? I achieved this because of all my team members. So I'll try to share that credit. So this is one small, simple example of the kind of value system that we're trying to build at Multibhashi. And obviously, like I said, user focus is the biggest value that everyone lives by. Even if a user, there are sometimes some nuisance, right? Even if a user is trying to abuse you or trying to pester you, trying to misbehave with you, it is not there's not a single team member who will, who will abuse back, or who will feel frustrated, or who will not respond to that user properly. We'll try to warn them once or twice. Please, come back on track. Please ask your real queries. Nobody's rude. And if a user is asking us, so for example, Faisal, who responds to each Play Store review, if he comes up with a query for a user, like he's not able to access a screen, he booked a session, but he hasn't gotten information, the content team members, the entire remote team members, they make sure that that user is approached like very quickly and his issue is resolved as soon as possible. So I think communicating our value system really well to anyone joining in, and then being very, very warm to our team members, being very, very communicative all the time, staying connected in real time is what keeps us afloat. In fact, one of my team members recently shared on Friendship Day a very beautiful message saying that, you are also friends. We haven't met each other. Some of us haven't even talked to each other, but I can't imagine life with you guys, without you guys anymore.
Wow.
So it was a huge compliment for all of us.
And that just shows the culture that you're building. And it's amazing. The people that you work with, you're working with them so many hours a day and a week and a month and then years and years. You want to be surrounded by positive, happy people that you consider not, your friends and your extended family. Like you look at Multibhashi, I say you have more than 5 kids. You think you only have 5 kids? Dexter, Multibhashi. I think all your employees are your kids too, So technically,
I said my friends don't want to feel that old.
So we're holding what, 20 kids, around a little more. So here's my question. Startups in India, I mean, now it's becoming more of a mainstream thing, mainstream type of way of living. Beforehand, there was a stigma for people that started startups and entrepreneurs, like you have nothing better to do in your life in India, especially. And, since India is a very risk adverse culture, people that are starting startups was like, is very rare. And now the fact that everyone's going forward towards that way of living is just amazing to see. But there's still a stigma towards, I guess, a little bit towards founders and entrepreneurs and all that. I can't begin to imagine.
That's right. So I would say that the stigma has changed a little bit. Now there's a stigma around starting this.
Hello?
The connection is a little interesting. Sorry, yeah. I can hear you, friend.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't begin to imagine the stigma towards a female founder. Mm-hmm. Like, you're probably brought up to have, to be like you said in the beginning, you're brought up to be a house mom, to be a housewife, to just raise children, raise a beautiful family and all that. And now you're a founder. So what is how did you do that first? Like, what is the stigma? I can't begin to imagine the stigma towards that, being a female founder.
No, so this question is asked to me a lot, but honestly, I have never had any negative side effects of being a female entrepreneur. In fact, I always tell people that if anything, I felt that I'm in a better position being a female entrepreneur, because there are so less, they're so less in number that you get noticed more easily. So in a room full of entrepreneurs, it is very easy to spot a female entrepreneur, and so you get attention, which is very much important for your startup. And people are generally nice to you because you're a female founder. But that is it. That is where it ends. That is all you can get being a female entrepreneur. And otherwise, I would say the competition is the same for a male or a female entrepreneur. They have the same struggles. If anything, I would have had certain struggles on my personal side, because honestly, my parents are not very proud of what I'm doing. So they're more concerned about the fact that I stay away from the kids so long. They're not getting proper attention. So because my personal background is such that it is difficult for them to appreciate a woman going out of home and working, those are the only challenges I would say I have faced as a female entrepreneur, or as a female, not even a female entrepreneur. So even if I were working at a company, they would have felt the same way. They would want me to spend more time with the kids. But surprisingly, my kids don't share those feelings. My kids are actually very proud of their mom doing something. and they're super proud of what Multibhashi does. In fact, they're both a huge fan of the app. They themselves use it. So in that sense, I'm blessed to have a supportive husband, a supportive kids. The only thing is that I'm still finding it difficult to change my parents' mindset, or for that matter, the entire family's mindset in terms of whether women should go out and work, that they should concentrate on building a career or not.
Well, definitely, I'll tell you, send your parents my number. I'll talk to them, Hello? Hello? Hello, you there?
Yeah. I lost you for a moment of time. Are you able to see?
Here we go. So I said to send your parents my number. I'll definitely be able to talk to them. I'll change their mindset,
Okay, I'll do that.
So what advice would you have for the other female founders that wanted to go ahead and start a company?
The only advice I have is if you really feel strongly about an idea, if you think you have planned it out well in terms of what kind of bandwidth you have, what kind of capital requirements you'll have, whether this is a good enough idea to chase in terms of market size, do you have some strength or some innate passion for the cause that you're working towards, that you're going to work towards, then don't think too much. If these boxes are checked, just go for it. Just take a plunge, because if you'll think too much, you'll never be able to do it.
Correct.
So it's not just for female or male, it's for anybody who wants to jump into entrepreneurship. Get your basics right, check your hygiene, and if it is in place, just don't think too much. Things will happen. The biggest thing that you should check yourself for is that passion, because a startup dies a lot of deaths in its pursuit of that final success, right? So if you're not passionate, you're not going to survive those deaths. So just make sure that you're passionate enough, and you think that the purpose that you're building for is close to your heart. If it's not, if you don't believe in it, it's not going to stick around for a long time.
Correct. And passion is not something that's bought or something, something you have internally, and you got to have it, So I'm sure you get this question hundreds of times, and it's a big topic in general. So the question is, how do you balance? Is there such a thing as balancing family life and work life?
No, I don't think so.
I agree to 100%.
No, I don't think even if there is a balance, I have not been able to achieve it. I work insane hours. I'm not able to give time to my kids, and I admit it. You cannot have, what do they say about it? You cannot have your pie and eat it too, something like that. I don't think, at least maybe some people are able to achieve it. I haven't met those people yet, if at all they exist, but you can only do so much. I mean, one part of your life is going to suffer, and you can just make sure that the damage is not fatal. But you cannot have an ideal world where you're able to give time to your family, you're able to give time to your friends, and then you're able to give time to your startup, and then the startup does well. Because like I said, you need to have insane passion, and your startup needs all the time, all the energy, all the attention that you have. You can just make sure that whatever is necessary goes to your family and your kids, especially if you have kids. Rest all, finding time for yourself, going for long walks, going for long drives, think of past for sure.
So like you mentioned before, your children are a very big fan of Multibhashi, and they have the passion towards it too. So that's also a phenomenal thing. It's great. So do you have a set day, or any time you set specifically for your kids and deal with your children?
Sorry, I couldn't get the question.
So do you have a set day or time that you specifically children time for your kids?
Yeah, so this right now is my children time that I'm devoting to
this
interview. No, just kidding. Generally, I pick them up from school around 6:30, and I try to pick them from school every single day and spend at least an hour or two with them once they're back from school, because they go to school from morning 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So this is the only bonding time we get before they sleep around 10. I try to devote some time with them intermittently, because it's still, I cannot devote the entire 3-hour time frame to them, but I try to devote as much time as I can with them. There is no such thing as a weekend, Saturday or Sunday in entrepreneurship. So you're working even on Saturdays and Sundays. But Saturdays and Sundays, I'm able to devote 3 to 4 hours with my kids. But on a weekday, I try to manage at least an hour and a half.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. The fact that you're balancing so many things. I gotta.
My parents don't think that way.
Yeah. So what, so you've been around, involved in startups for a long time. You started. You're obviously your VC fund, the Dexter, and you're running Insta Office, and you're running, Multibhashi and your kids. So I'm assuming you read a lot of business books or startup books. So what books would you recommend for other people to read?
What books would I recommend?
What other books would you recommend for people to read, business books?
Yeah, based on my investor's recommendation, Dr. Anuradha Malpani is invested in Multibhashi, and he recommended a book to me, Permission to Screw Up, and I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
Especially if you want to pick up a few things about how you can build a solid startup culture and how you can manage your team well. I think that is the go-to book that every startup founder should read. How to manage people. And I especially like that book because this person, the author, is very, very candid about the mistakes that she made. Mm-hmm. And the entire book is about it's okay to make mistakes, right? And it's okay to make mistakes yourself. It's okay if your team members make mistakes. Encourage making mistakes. Encourage them to learn from their mistakes. And if they're learning from their mistakes, no mistake is a bad mistake. Only when you don't learn from your mistakes is a mistake bad.
100%.
So, lot of lessons to pick up from that book, which has been written by an entrepreneur who started her journey right after college, and she admits to her mistakes so beautifully that you learn a lot from them yourself.
Wow, I'm definitely going to check out that book and buy it and read it. It sounds phenomenal. So let's say an entrepreneur wanted to pick your brain, get advice, maybe even raise money from Dexter, or even get an office space at Insta or something. So what is the best way for an entrepreneur in India to get a hold of you?
I'm very, very responsive on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Not many, but I would say 10 to 15 founders or wannabe founders do approach me in a month, and I try to devote whatever time I can to help them. Generally, when you ping me on LinkedIn, I immediately respond. I give you my number. We schedule a call, and I do whatever I can. But I wouldn't say that funding is the ultimate thing where I can help you, and especially so Dexter is not a fund. We do not fund startups. We just connect you with the right funds, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, my kids are here if you want to say a quick hello.
Sure, let's get them on too.
Come. Say hello to Uncle.
Hello.
Hello. What's your name?
What's your name?
Anuradha Agarwal.
And what's your name?
Anuradha Agarwal.
Well, how old are you?
How old are you?
5.
How old are you?
3.
3? Oh, you
Wow,
know.
that's amazing. You came to visit mommy at work?
No, so they're just back from school. I couldn't go to pick them up myself. Okay. But I have to stay back in office a little longer, so I called them here instead of going home with them.
So I don't want to take away your time from...
No, it's okay, it's okay.
So first of all, I want to say, if there's anything I could do to help Multibhashi, anything I can do. First of all,
call my parents, right? I'll pass on the numbers.
Yes, that's for sure. I was about to say, I'm definitely going to speak to your parents and show them what you're changing, how you're changing the whole India. You're not just changing everyone around you, but you're changing the whole India. You're giving everyone the ability to work. You give everyone the ability to further their career,
sure,
and enhance their life. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm definitely looking forward. And if anything, yes, please reach out.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, I'll do that. Thank you so much, Brad.
Sure. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sure.